Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this very special edition of the Relic News Blood Bowl Doltcast. I'm Axel from Hate Me Gaming, on loan today to the Dolts, and joining me today is...
Hi, my name's Peter, or Obtuse, from the Relic News forums.
Cool, so what is it we are doing today, Pete?
Today we're going to go over the information that's currently available for around Blood Bowl 2. That's been gathered mostly from the Blood Bowl Tumblr, which there'll be a link to in the description, and from various other bits and pieces that are half remembered or possibly made up.
Good stuff, good stuff. So, do you want to kick us off? What are we going to start with? By the way, what is happening here in the background? Is this match of any particular significance? There's a lot of red going on.
Yes, just to kind of catch you guys up on what's going on here. This is a match from the Relic News League that runs pretty much constantly for most of the time. There'll be a link to that below showing there's going to be a new season starting soon. This is a match between myself and Kajava, who's the gent who runs the league at the moment. Which will be running in the background. It's of no massive significance, just to give you guys something to look at while we're talking.
You seem awfully dismissive. Did you get your ass kicked in this one?
No?
No, he says in the most believable tone of voice. Absolutely. So, while you're listening to our dulcet tones, bombard your ears with details of the new upcoming Blood Bowl 2. Feel free to also watch Obtuse getting his backside handed to him, courtesy of the Relic News Blood Bowl manager.
Yes.
Let's get it on, shall we?
Okay, so let's go through a couple of things which are known about Blood Bowl at this point. So we'll start off with some of the bits and pieces and work into the more meaty stuff later on. The first thing is talking about transfers. So transfer season is coming is the little tagline here.
Okay.
Briefly, the description is that when you're playing in a league, and I'm thinking it's going to apply more to the bigger leagues than smaller player-run leagues, that you can transfer players between teams in the off-season, so between seasons. So, for example, if you can only do it race by race. So, if you've got an Orc team and you want to get rid of one of your players for whatever reason, maybe he's badly hurt. Well, no.
You're going to try and sell off your injured players to someone else?
Yeah, so maybe if he's injured, and maybe someone will want him, someone will love him, but not you.
No, not you.
Or maybe once you've murdered that player for his incompetence, you want to buy a new one which is already experienced. You can using this marketplace. It's not a Diablo marketplace where you.
There's no real money transactions going on.
No, fortunately, no real money is changing hands here, but your in-game currency will have a lot more meaning. So usually you'll end up with a huge bank of money when you're playing in a long-term
I like that
league.
idea though. That means that you could have a team that you use to train up other players for the purposes of selling. You could just have one team bankrolled.
It doesn't quite work that way.
It's going to open a lot of other
though.
strategies, isn't it? I mean, surely if you've trained up players to a certain point and then you put them on the market, someone else could buy them and then you could just start fresh.
Well, it's only in a given league. So you can't just like make a feeder team and then you could do that. Presumably you could do that in an open league.
Okay. But
you can't do that in even a larger private league, or at least it will be a lot less easy to do so.
Yeah, no, of course. Fair enough.
I imagine there's because yes, immediately my reaction to that will be as well. There are going to be abuse cases here, but hopefully they've kind of figured out how that's not going to happen.
Obviously, I wasn't so much thinking abuse. I was just thinking that if a coach wanted to take on the role of a team that existed to train players rather than actually compete at the high levels themselves, that might then be a viable option. But I mean, either way, it's going to be an interesting twist.
I mean, we'll see how it's implemented ultimately.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, it's not terrifically clear exactly how it's going to work, but it's there. I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's not probably going to affect the majority of private league players, but for the open leagues, it's probably going to be a fairly big deal.
I just saw Kajava's Chaos Dwarf just get lightning bolted. That was fantastic.
Yeah,
took it like a champ.
I'm not going to talk about this match.
Are you not? Okay, just too soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just enjoy. Yeah. Okay.
Moving swiftly on.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about the single player to Blood Bowl 2.
Okay.
It's based around the Reekland Reavers, who are the kind of the box team for Blood Bowl. They're the ones which are kind of involved in most of things. They're mostly known for their big name player Griff Oberwald, and there's a few other ones like I believe Zug the Mighty and a couple other people. But you're using this team, which is a little bit of an...
There's a picture of Gruff Overworld on the Blood Bowl Tumblr blog, and he's got one of them heroic chins.
Yes.
Doesn't he? I mean, good grief, you could put out fire with that chin.
He is quite the guy, but apparently he has brought the team into disrepute in some fashion. So somehow or other, this amazingly successful team is now no longer an amazingly successful team, and you, the player, have been brought in to reverse their fortunes.
Oh, cool. Like rising from the ashes type affair.
Yes, so that's kind of a cool idea. It's certainly different than every other Blood Bowl thing, which is you start with a rubbish team and then work your way up to being a not rubbish team.
You have to become not rubbish again this time, which is that's a massive twist.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it works out in practice. I mean, whether it just means it could just be that's just a conceit, and you're just like, oh, it's just a standard human team, and I can buy star players later on or something. I don't know. Like, it could be as kind of blah as that, or hopefully they're going to be pretty creative. They brought in the gent who wrote for Games Workshop originally on the board game Blood Bowl. I'm trying to find his name. Where is it? Oh, Andy Hall. Yes, Andy Hall is going to be brought in as a writer for Blood Bowl 2, and he's talking up his involvement quite heavily, saying that it's going to be effectively a Blood Bowl movie. So I'm guessing there's going to be sort of cut scenes, kind of more story-based kind of things going on in terms of, hopefully it's going to be do more to differentiate itself from just playing match after match after match.
Well, that sounds awesome. I mean, if they're putting some work into the graphical engine, I say show it off.
Yeah. They've already shown off that they've got full 3D models and things for the commentators. I don't know if that's... They've talked about they're going to have the commentators will interview players during the story mode.
Oh, cool.
So I presume there must be... Maybe they'll just use
dialogue choices and...
Maybe we will. That would be amazing.
Renegade or Paragon decisions. It's going to be great.
That would be pretty... Actually, that would be a great idea. That'd be so easy to do.
Can you become the warm-hearted Blood Bowl coach?
Well, maybe you could be like, I'll be fair or I'll be foul. I don't know.
Maybe that could lead to your team being taken over by chaos, and it could all go horribly wrong from there in.
It would be so easy to do, though. You just have dialogue boxes.
Yeah.
You do this or this, and it has a gameplay effect on the next match.
I think that'd be fantastic. That is a really good idea.
But yes, there's going to be a GUI update, so the user interface is going to be updated. We should have a shot of that here. Not in-game, but the user interface when we're talking about team management. So it looks like they've done a lot of good work here. It looks a lot clearer, and the information is presented very succinctly. I hope that carries across the rest of the interface, because that was one of the biggest problems for Blood Bowl 1, is that it didn't seem like they spent a lot of effort in making the interface easy to use.
Yeah. It is widely regarded as one of the major criticisms of the game. The interface is pretty poor.
The one thing I wanted to mention with regards to the UI, but in-game UI, particularly this time, is that I can't put a source on this, unfortunately, but from what I've heard, they're attempting to make the UI much more clear in terms of what it is you're doing when you're playing the game. So I've played against players who've made very bad moves because they didn't understand quite what it was they were doing. Mm-hmm. What I'd heard a long time ago was that they were going to have indicators showing you exactly what dice rolls were going to be involved with doing something. So if you're going to dodge, what would the dice roll be to succeed in that dodge? And you know it before you try and do it, as opposed to knowing it after the fact, which is obviously a much better way around of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we'll see how that's going to be implemented, whether it's going to show up on the squares around your guy, like when you're dodging, will it highlight other potential spaces with easier dodges? I don't know.
I mean, it does do elements of that in Blood Bowl 1 when you're trying to do a pass with the intercept. I mean, something like that would be fantastic if it worked with all of the mechanics. It just seems that some of the UI indicators are inconsistent. And again, all of that ends up being a bit of a detracting point for the player, and can be quite off-putting to new players who are trying to learn not only the video game but the actual core games systems as well. It's a lot to deal with.
100% yes, you're right. I mean, with any game, there's always going to be more people who have not played your game than have played your game. So if you don't cater to the players who are new, then
you're doomed from the outset, really.
Yeah, you're never going to build up user base.
I mean, I am in a minority in that I started playing Blood Bowl on a computer game. I knew of it beforehand.
I only played it years and years and years ago, very briefly. I think most people playing it now are gonna have been introduced through the video game.
Really?
I think so. Like,
Okay.
there's only going to be so many people who played it was never that big a deal of a board game at the time. Like, people did play it, but most people would just play the main games.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I think a lot of those people will not be playing necessarily all be playing computer games anymore. And there's a lot more people just at large who will have never even had the chance to have interacted with the board game.
Yeah, no, I suppose. And obviously, what with big name YouTubers like Total Biscuit doing tournaments, and obviously it's been on Steam for a number of years now as well. That must have quite significantly increased its exposure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone really would have expected to have seen Blood Bowl get as big as it has, but yeah, I mean, it's
Glad that it's happening though.
Yeah, it's an immensely frustrating game at times.
Oh yeah, I mean, Nuffle is a cruel person, individual, god, deity, whichever.
Yes, I mean,
he's not a happy chap.
The single player campaign is apparently going to have the first 3 or 4 missions just be a tutorial, effectively, of how to play the game. So if that's done
something
well,
Blood Bowl 1 kind of really does need.
Yes, Blood Bowl 1, I think it does have a tutorial, but it's really bare bones.
Yeah, it doesn't make it anywhere near enough steps to teach a player to play it. I was looking for a word there and there wasn't one.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a matter of opinion, a lot of these things, in terms of, like, oh, you should do things this way, you should do things that way. But maybe I can see it being that it kind of suggests plays for you and say, these are the generally most sensible things you can do, as in a step up from how to use the interface into how to play the game and not be rubbish at it.
Yes. Yeah,
like,
just basic pointers, really.
Like, watch the AI do things you shouldn't do. Like, oh look, the AI has left his ball carrier exposed. Now you can punch him. What a dummy. And you're like, yeah, what a dummy. Pfft, I'd never do that.
That'd be a great way of doing it. Absolutely.
So hopefully that's going to make it a lot less intimidating for new people to get into it.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
So let's talk about a little bit more about the single player. So you'll be taking the Reclaim Reavers through. You'll be developing their stadiums, which if you've seen any of the shots already, which we'll hopefully have a shot of here, the stadiums look amazing. You'll be developing these during the single player campaign, buying capacity to make them bigger. Hopefully, I presume this will be reflected in what you'll see. But you'll also be able to buy buildings which will have a gameplay effect. As to what the gameplay effect will be, I'm not entirely sure. But presumably it's going to be doing things like affecting kick-off events and things like that.
Cool.
So yeah, that's kind of neat. One of the developers did mention it was optional to have these stadiums have gameplay effects, which suggests that they might well make an appearance in multiplayer as a toggleable option.
Yeah, I mean, there's a parallel for that in Blood Bowl 1 at the moment with being able to choose the Blitz rules or the regular ones.
Yeah, so that's cool. I mean, they talk a lot about giving people the options to do what they want with it, so I'm hoping if they stick to their word in this particular instance, that it's going to be, you can have it exactly how you want to have it, and anything which you think is dumb you don't have to play with, anything you think is really cool but not in the original rules you can just throw in. Let's see what else is there.
I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, it should be pretty cool. Oh, AI. There's going to be a complete AI overhaul for Blood Bowl 2. Starting from scratch, let's say, kind of paraphrasing what they're saying on the blog here, ditching the old system altogether to start afresh with a healthy new base. So yes, it's going to be script-based and server-driven. So, yes.
And individual races are going to have their own AI.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're not going to have Woodell's trying to punch you to death, though they always seem to be able to punch me to death, I don't know.
Yeah,
why.
And you're not going to have a vampire team trying to play the same way that a Skaven team would.
Yes.
Which is just never going to work for anyone.
Yes, I'll be interested to see how well it works out. And of course the big news on the AI front is they're going to open AI scripting to the community, meaning that there's hopefully going to be the best possible AI there, even if it's not in that launch.
That may also mean that, I mean, obviously this is speculation at this point, but what with mods, that means that the players may be able to add their own races.
I suppose theoretically. I mean, the only reason I could see against doing something like that is because they could potentially be cutting into their own profits by taking away DLC opportunities. But hopefully, I mean, we don't know at this stage. Certainly, they've said that if they're willing to let the community play around with the AI, there's a possibility they'll let them play around with other stuff as well.
Absolutely.
But we'll see. Okay. And yes, there's a little bit more about the AI. Apparently they're going to try and adapt to how the current game is playing. So if they're much stronger than your team, they'll concentrate on bashing you, for example. And if they're not, they'll try and play appropriately, so they're not just throwing all of their guys in. And this is, I believe, is separate from the racial AI. So you can potentially have high elves getting aggressive because they've got more strength on the team than a halfling team, for example. And finally, in the AI thing, there'll be specific AI for particular matches in the single-player mode. So it looks like they're putting a lot of effort into this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those areas that really could have used some love after the first one. So things are looking good. Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of fun ideas you can just come up with just offhand with that kind of thing. Like, if you say, here's an idea for you. You have an event. You're playing, you're Reekland Reavers. You're playing against Wood Elves next game, and you get the opportunity to drug their water.
Yeah,
and if you do so, then they go nuts. Maybe you put some like fanatic brew in there or whatever, and it modifies their AI, so they just constantly try and attack you. Or just something like that. Just fun little things which will help mix up the huge amount of matches you're going to have to play to get through single player.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a fun idea.
Let's see. Okay, so leading slowly into the multiplayer part, we've got some bits and pieces from the network programmer Lucas on the blog, talking about how their multiplayer architecture has been revised. So with dedicated servers to host games, and so that's encouraging. It sounds like there's a potential there for reconnections to disconnected games. They haven't, I believe, said specifically this is going to be the case as of yet, but it sounds like it could be on the cards. Yeah. And that's a big thing for private leagues in particular, where it's a lot of time to lose if somebody drops out of the game because their internet fell out for 5 minutes, whatever.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that should be encouraging. Let's see. But yes, to get to the multiplayer proper, they've been quoted. It was in the video, right? They've been quoted as saying the leagues are a major focus for their multiplayer efforts. So they're going to give a lot of tools to the players to create their own league systems. Apparently their own invitations and tickets and other league options. I'm hoping this means that you can customize everything as far as possible, because I can't see it being that hard to allow people to just flip switches on their things. So do you want to have this in your league? Yes, no.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of just one solid rule set or another, actually allow customizable rule sets for the entire league.
Yeah, so it's like, do you want to allow wizards? Yes, no. It's like,
hell yes.
It's all the stuff in there which you could just be...
Give me that wizard.
Yeah, potentially you can tailor it to taste. I mean, imagine... imagine a single
you would think that customizability would be one of the focal points of this.
I think it is. Because it's very easy for them to do, I would imagine. Because in Blood Bowl 1, the material looked like it was there already. Because you'd see on leagues it has yes-no options, but you just never had the chance to set those. It just assumed. I think that was maybe on the cards for them originally, and they just never got around to it. But yeah, so that's cool. So you'll be able to play your leagues however you want to. I presume there'll still be open leagues and there'll be private leagues. You can have playoffs, and from what they're saying, tickets, presumably you can have invitationals and things like that. So that's kind of neat.
Awesome. So they're really, really focusing on, I don't know, the risk of being cynical, the points that Blood Bowl 1, I suppose, was sort of lacking in: the AI, the UI, single player experience, and areas of the netcode and multiplayer functionality, which is great. That's good, because Blood Bowl is a global. I nearly said sport then, but it could be with the right PC release software. The thing could take off as some form of a low-level esport.
Well, speaking of esports, they definitely noticed that esports is a great way to get marketing for a game without paying any money.
Oh, gotcha.
So you've got the ability in Blood Bowl 2 to stream directly from the game.
Oh, fantastic!
So you've got the ability to stream, I presume, to Twitch and various other outlets of your choice, and you can when someone on your friends list is streaming, you can just watch their game. And presumably, I don't know quite. I'd be interested to find out the details of this, like in terms of what tools you have while you're streaming. In terms of, can you draw on the screen?
I was just about to say that, drawing on the screen. Maybe some form of being able to read the Twitch chat.
Yep. Like, if someone's streaming, and you're watching the main game, can you hear their commentary? I don't know. Like, it's a lot
Could
to
you
ask
have
of people.
picture in picture?
Yeah, picture in picture would be amazing. Just anything to make it more interesting. Because Blood Bowl struggles a little bit as a spectator sport because it's such a long form game.
Yeah, it's turn based, and there's like very little happens other than once you've issued a command.
Yeah, like it would be interesting to see if they can make it work.
Yes,
because yes, there are barriers in the way there, especially if you're watching it live. Because unless the commentators are particularly entertaining, you're not going to want to sit through it.
But perhaps not insurmountable barriers. I mean, like you said, with the simple addition of things like being able to draw on the screen when it's not your turn, or some form of ability to interact with your viewers on the stream and things like that. There is potential for this to become a really engaging spectator experience as well. So fingers crossed that they are even more clued into that than we are.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Like, it feels like there are a lot of things they could do to encourage, like, to build audience interaction into it. I mean, I don't know how much that's possible. I suppose an ideal situation for them would be, well, maybe it wouldn't, but that you'd encourage people to watch streams through the Blood Bowl, the game as an interface, and then you could have more interaction options if you're watching it through the game.
Yep.
So say, like, you could
if one of the players gets knocked off the field, and when one of the crowd jump in and bundle them, you could have a thing where you hammer a button. maybe that could in some way influence. You're right. That's a horrible idea, but it's all things are possible when there's more engagement in game.
Yeah, I mean, I would be thinking more along the lines of voting and things you could have pop up on the screen from people, which would not affect the game, but just kind of give people something to do while they're watching a game. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how far they want to go with that.
They could bet. If they're a coach and they have a team, they could bet gold.
Yes, that would be excellent.
And plays and things like that. That could be good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it makes you start to think of something like the Hunger Games, where you've got people just like dropping in and like giving assistance to each team. But yes, I guess if that was a game mode or a particular kind of match you could play, where people would physically give gold to each other and stuff for favours. I don't know. Whatever. There's a lot of interesting possibilities there.
Very much so.
Okay.
So the future is looking quite bright and shiny for Blood Bowl.
Yep, absolutely. Like there's a lot of possibility there. There isn't a super large amount of concrete information out there as of yet, in terms of we've yet to see a match being properly played out. There is a short video of what it looks like I think is an in-game match, probably prettied up a bit, which makes it, to be honest, look more or less like Blood Bowl 1. To be honest, if you're going to be completely honest, it looks like a prettier version of Blood Bowl 1.
With a bit of luck, we'll have some footage of this on screen at the moment.
Yes, because you definitely don't want to see this game. This game is the worst.
Oh, I don't know. It's just getting good now.
Oh man, yeah. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much covers all of the information we have so far. I'm sure there's going to be more information coming out. I definitely keep an eye on this Blood Bowl Tumblr.
Yes, we'll make sure the link is on screen in the description.
So now I suppose we're just going to kind of jaw a little bit about possibilities, theoretical stuff, not things that have no basis in fact or common sense, just kind of things we'd like to see, I suppose.
I'd like to see a Dawn of War 3 and then a 40k Blood Bowl. There you go.
Well, to maybe keep it a little bit more Blood Bowl focused.
I said 40k Blood Bowl, that'd be amazing. Like, my other team is Space Marines.
Good. Well, one thing which we were talking about before was the ability to have multiplayer spectation going on. I mean, that's something that's happening in other games already. Yeah. But I'm hoping that given that if it's going to be server-side for Blood Bowl 2, that will be potentially an option that you can watch a replay synchronized with your friends at the same time. Or, like, ideally, if you're going to make it into a real pub thing, just have it that everyone could be watching. Two people could be playing the game while a bunch of your mates come and watch the game at the same time and yell abuse at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that would be pretty fun. And if it's for big event things like the finals of the World Championships, it would be very cool to be able to watch that in game at the same time as everyone else.
Yeah, no, I think that would be awesome. And you could even, I mean, Dota has a system where you can select which commentator you want to listen to, if any, while watching either a live game or a replay. Something like that would be fantastic, yeah.
Yep, and I mean, that again would play well into any potential viewer interaction technology that might happen if you're watching it in-game. So, like how League of Legends has the Twitch voting,
yes,
or Twitter voting, sorry, where you would be like, I think this guy's going to win, I think this guy's going to win, like, or vote for this, that, or the other. And yes, as you say, maybe like put bounties on people's heads and things.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be a nice addition, which would help make it feel more of a social thing, as opposed to just something you do like by yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that Blood Bowl, I suppose, lacks is it is that true social factor. I mean, there's nothing in game to support it. I mean, the chat system is it's functional. It's not great. So anything that would actually make it feel more multiplayer rather than just you're playing a slightly better AI, I think it's definitely a good thing, because that's where Blood Bowl is traditionally. It's a board game. You sit around with your friends and you play it, and I think that's an element that the PC, the video game version, really does need to put some work into capturing better than it does currently.
No, I think you're completely right. There's a lot of potential there for making it a very social thing, but I guess we'll see.
Absolutely. I mean, I said a lot of this is speculation and maybe extrapolation at this point, but either way, the future for Blood Bowl is looking very shiny indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that people are probably not going to be terrifically keen on the idea of having to re-buy the same game over again.
Well, there's a strong chance that by this point we're probably used to it.
That's true. I've rebought the same game 4 times already.
See, that's the point. In a game that begs for DLC, I mean, it's such a suitable candidate for the DLC business model. Why they haven't gone that way with it thus far is completely beyond me. I really hope that is how they do it with Blood Bowl 2, is that you buy Blood Bowl 2 and any future races that you wish to play as, you have to purchase the DLC for. And I'd be fine with that, as long as, reasonably priced.
Oh no, I'm
$6.99 a DLC, it's good.
I'm certain that's how the game's going to work, because there's a million ways to monetize Blood Bowl.
Yeah,
I mean, as long as you're
doing none of them.
Yes, at the moment it's like, because you can sell everything. Everything in the game can be sold. You can sell player skins, you can sell pitch skins, you can sell icons, you can sell special taunts,
banners, cheerleaders, everything. Different coloured trails for the wizards, fireball and lightning spells. Anything at all.
Yeah, anything you like can be sold in this game, because there's so much potential. I think
as long as all the teams remain equally balanced, that's going to be a key factor here, is that team balance is addressed.
Well, cosmetic stuff. You could sell cosmetic stuff all day long, and it would be fine, because frankly some of the skins are a little hard to distinguish anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's any different than it is now. If you want to give your Minotaur a party hat, like, make it Team Fortress 2, have matches drop hats, and have those hats go on players.
Yep. That's a great idea.
I get the impression that Blood Bowl 1 was kind of developed as they went along, so
it does have that feel to it. I believe you said it earlier before we started recording. You said that it feels like it's developed on a shoestring, and I completely agree with that. I think they've done well with it. I mean, the models are awesome. It does bring it to life in a way that we've not seen before. But it's 2014. It's time to step it up a touch.
Yep, absolutely. I think there's a lot more they could do with it.
And looks like they are.
Yeah. I mean, they've made a crap ton of money out of this.
Oh, God,
it's unbelievable for a game which, as I said, does not appear to have spent a huge amount of development costs.
And the actual core gameplay was largely pre-developed by Games Workshop.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm hoping that there's, they're going to make the most of this opportunity too. I mean,
I think the leap between whichever iteration of Blood Bowl 1 we're currently playing and Blood Bowl 2 needs to be huge. It needs to stand head, shoulders and torso above the previous Blood Bowl in every aspect. Graphically, online infrastructure, it needs to, because by this point players are fatigued. We're bored of buying the next one. I mean, the fact that you can buy a Chaos Edition on Steam for a massive discount if you own any of the other ones on Steam previously, that's the first time anything like that has been offered. I think that it really does need to truly stand up and be worth the purchase.
I can certainly imagine if I'd never played Blood Bowl, and I didn't know what Warhammer was, and I didn't know anything about it really, I've just kind of being, I don't know if I want to get involved with something like that, because it looks just like a lot of work. Whereas, hopefully, if it can, with the vastly improved graphics and things, that it will look appealing enough that people will sit down and watch a WTF is Blood Bowl 2.
Absolutely.
And then be like, okay, well, that looks alright. And then, like for example, Hearthstone. Yes. I watched Total Biscuits WTF is Hearthstone, and I was like, okay, that doesn't look too bad, I'll play it. And I imagine something very similar could happen for this, as long
definitely.
As...
They need to smoothen the experience all over, really. That's pretty much that's the only thing it's lacking, is the polish. And that looks like that's what's happening this time.
Yep, I think it's basically nothing but polish and just tweaks.
Which is perfect, because that is literally all it needed.
Yeah. It's pretty hard to argue that there was, I think, some concern that there was a mention of cards that could be used to give you improvements, like random effects and things. I can't quite remember where I remember seeing that, but I think it might have been on the Blood Bowl Facebook page. It is actually a rule from the rulebook. I looked it up.
Cool.
They are quite weird, but basically it's extended inducements which give you, so you buy access to this deck and you draw a random card from it. It's literally just a deck of cards, like a deck of regular playing cards, and each one of those things has a different effect. So they're all quite weird as far as effects go. Like I don't know if I can pull up any examples of them. But they're pretty powerful, because you have never any idea what it is you're getting. Then I suppose the idea is that will even things out a bit.
I mean, there's a lot of sort of precedence for this. I mean, Titanfall uses these burn cards, which when they were announced, a lot of people kind of puckered their buttholes about. But obviously, when the game came out, it turned out to just be a rather nifty little addition. Nothing to get too worked up over either way. It just genuinely mildly enhances the gameplay.
Okay, here we go. I've managed to find them.
Okay.
So just give me a card, like just a
4 of Hearts.
4 of Hearts, Eclipse. Suddenly all light is blocked out by a total eclipse. Maybe it's a complete darkness, or maybe it's astrological magic. But for one brief moment, all players are equal. Play at the beginning of your turn before any player takes an action. All players on the pitch. Okay, that's what. All players on the pitch have the characteristics and skills of a rookie goblin.
Oh my god.
That sounds dumb as hell, but that sounds pretty entertaining.
That's awesome. Is it just for one turn?
That's for one turn and your opponent's turn.
That's outstanding. I love that.
There are ones which are less dramatic than that. So there's one which makes the ball scatter 2d6 instead of 1d6 on a kick.
Oh no, good grief. Catastrophic. I had a Solar Eclipse. Solar Eclipse, that's a good one.
I get the impression they're mostly just, because they only cost 50,000 gold pieces to get.
Okay.
So they're mostly, I think it's sort of balanced so that they favour the person who bought them, obviously because they paid money for them, but they don't generally just win you the game. They're not like having an extra wizard or anything. Though I say this, there's probably going to be an extra wizard in there somewhere, just make it look stupid. Let's see. Yeah, I mean it's stuff like there's an Ace of Hearts lets you win the cheering your fans automatically. Like it's minor bonuses, but interesting and very varied ones. Like there's like a whole bunch of 52 different bonuses you can potentially get, and not all of them are going to be that relevant. In fact, most of them don't look like they're that relevant. So it's very easy to panic when you come across this kind of information and think. I initially thought they'd made it up, and that they were just like, "Hey, let's mess with the game," because we don't know what we've got here. But no, this is stuff that's already in the rulebook, as far as I can tell. And it doesn't seem to be anywhere near as bad as it could be in terms of, it's not like if someone takes this and gets a particular card, they're definitely going to win or anything like this. So yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, I think we've basically covered all of it, haven't we?
I think pretty much. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else as of yet that's actually left to say based on the information we have got. Are there any things you'd like to see in Blood Bowl we haven't heard about yet as of yet?
There are. Again, I'd like a much more flexible replay system. Free roaming camera, various HUD options. You know, for those of us who want to get a little bit cinematic with it, or maybe even, you know, make YouTube videos or such.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like giving yourself some analytic tools, potentially. To have something like, I don't know if you've ever played Fumble, which is the Java version of Blood Bowl, which is free. And you've got their website link right here. Boop, 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 boop.
Magic.
Which has an overhead view of the pitch. So if you're trying to, you know, tactics and analysis and stuff on your stream, to be able to have the tools to be able to do that, draw on the screen. I don't know if we've mentioned that already.
We did mention that briefly, yeah.
But yeah, just making it as compelling to watch as possible, given that the enormous amount of downtime in a given Blood Bowl game, which is about 90% of the game, is people standing around.
Exactly. They need to make it much easier to engage with the viewers. So, the future for Blood Bowl 2 is looking shiny and violent. Do we have a release date? Do we know when this is landing?
I will check into that for you.
Okay.
So Blood Bowl 2, it's coming out in the last quarter of this year, I know at least. I don't know if they've been drawn on a particular release date as of yet.
Okay.
But yes, it's going to be this year.
Well, keep an eye out for that one, coming out later this year, 2014. From myself, Axyl, and from Obtuse from the Relic News, thank you very much for joining us. Keep an eye out for future updates.
Thanks for watching.